Hello and welcome to our Facebook Live. So I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about the difference between being pre-qualified and actually pre-approved. So the federal government did actually clarify this definition, but everyone within our industry uses those two phrases interchangeably, and I've always been kind of on a personal mission to kind of differentiate between the two, because those two things are two very real different things in what it should tell you as the client, what it should tell your realtor, what it should tell your builder, what it should tell your sellers that you're working with. So the client, and this should be the same, this is a federal government definition. So no matter what loan officer or builder or seller that you're talking to, it's always better to clarify, because basically the differences between the two, or way that it should be, is that when you're pre-qualified, you're calling in, you're giving us your information over the phone as to your loan officer or your loan consultant. And so whenever we pull up that information, we're supposed to be pulling up at least from one credit bureau, asking the right questions, but the reality is we don't actually have any documentation to back up what you're telling us. So it's up to the loan officer to read through those questions, read through those answers, and to be able to ascertain whether there should be some additional questions asked. So a good loan officer is going to make the difference whenever you are trying to get pre-qualified. Whenever you're doing that pre-approval, the pre-approval is basically when you're providing all of the documentation to back up what you told us verbally. So you're providing those W-2s, you're providing those bank statements, you're providing those pay stubs. So in the pre-approval, or the approval should not be of any concern, because it's merely should be backing up what you've already told us verbally. So it's just like receiving a pre-approved application in the mail. When you're receiving that credit card application in the mail, if you flip it over and look at the very back, it's telling you, it's basically, you now have to fill out the application, you now have to provide all the documentation to prove what you're telling us over the phone. So that pre-approved credit card application is nothing merely other than they've pulled information or bought your lead from the credit bureau, and now they're sending you that solicitation to try to get you to buy. But not to confuse credit cards with mortgage applications, but mortgage applications, pre-qualified, you're just giving us your information over the phone. Make sure it's accurate. Try not to guesstimate too much. If you don't know, tell your loan officer you'll call them back and give them that information. If you're doing it online, spend a few extra minutes. You can always go back to that application and then fill it out. So then whenever you're providing the documentation for the full approval, and a pre-approval on a mortgage application might be subject to, well, technically the federal definition says a pre-approval is subject to anything other than property information. So it's subject to an appraisal, it's subject to a flood certification, and it is subject to, say, for example, homeowners insurance. So everything, automated underwriting is supposed to be done. So if somebody says to you, yes, I am pre-approved, then the follow-up question should be to you realtors and builders is, have you provided any documentation to your lender? If they tell you no, then technically they are just pre-qualified. And then fundamentally speaking, it's really up to the fact, is the loan officer doing their job? Are they fully documenting? Are they asking the right questions? What is the loan officer doing at that point? So that's just a brief overview of a pre-qualification versus a pre-approval, and the correct usage of that terminology and what it should mean to you as a homeowner, a builder, a realtor, a seller, appraiser, any of that information. Have a great evening.